6 p.m. in Balmayo and same time right here in the economic capital city, Douala. Good evening, dear viewers of Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for joining us on today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. I am Immaculate Fogwe, and first, our major stories. Dead victims of the Sunday 8th of October Bano Landslide will be given a state burial next week. This follows civil consultations between family members and state officials. Meanwhile, the head of state promises a sum of 92 million francs CFA, which will be shared among the 56 families who were affected by the landslide. The promise comes few days after the population were asked to evacuate the CPDM party house where they were seeking refuge. We have details in this edition of the news. And away from that, hundreds of traders at the Acacia market in Yaoundé 6 subdivision are loggerheads with price control officers whom they are accusing of extortion. Most of the traders decide to close their shops due to the abusive increase in taxes. We'll be getting the reactions of some traders in this edition of the news. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe Television. You definitely made the right choice. We'll begin with this incident from Yaoundé, where victims of the Bano landslide have been told to evacuate the party house in Lonkana and rent their own houses. The information was given to these victims by the Senior Divisional Officer of Mfundi, Mariel Emmanuel Jigden, as he chaired a working session on how government support package will be shared to the different family members. Smajikan Gabriel reports.
For close to 3 months, they have been in pains after waiting for a long time. The victims of the Bano incident will finally bury the loved ones who died as a result of a landslide. I'm happy because I will finally lay my son to rest in the village. No matter the situation we have passed through, I will give him a befitting burial. I thank God for everything, because he saw my situation and he wants my son to rest in peace. During the working session chaired by the divisional officer of Mfundi, the administrative authority fixed the modalities of what each family gets as support from the head of state. The working session met with some disagreement from the victims, as some of the beneficiaries who weren't together but were brought back as one because of the funeral had disagreement on who to receive the support from the government. The senior divisional officer of Mfundi tried to put to rest some of these issues. The support from the head of state is not to be used for something else. It's just to organize a befitting burial for the departed. I don't want to get any complaints again that someone dies and you want to share the money. Which money? What's all of this? You think if you're giving millions, it will bring back the child who died? The different families were told that after January 5, any family whose corpse is still at the mortuary will not be in the hands of the government, with exceptions given to those whose distance are far off. Those who survived the Bano incident have also been told to leave the party house where they have been for some time now. As a result of the Bano incident, 28 persons died and 3 still missing till date.
And latest information streaming into our studio says a sum of 92 million francs CFA will be shared among victims of the Bano landslide. The amount was given by the head of state, President Paul Biya. Still in Yaoundé, disgruntled traders of the Acacia market, precisely in Yaoundé 6 subdivision center region, stormed the market premises today, denouncing the fact that the price officers frequently increase taxes. They say the price control tax has increased from 5,000 to 30,000 francs and even more in some cases. Asia Luciliengo with the details.
Traders of the Acacia market in the Yaoundé 6 subdivision expressed indignation over continuous tax increase they have been experiencing for the past 4 years.
We are the traders here in Marché Acacia Yaoundé 6. One what we are pleading today is for the government to see into this case. I want to say here that it's been years now that we are suffering from too much taxes. Tax control is the highest price that we have been paying in this market. We've been abused at a certain point because we are not even coping anymore. It is more than us. Enough is enough.
Most of them have closed their shops due to the inability to withstand the abusive increase. Others say they pay taxes without being given a receipt as proof of payment.
May you pay the money, and when you pay, then they give we any receipt. So we don't talk say enough is enough.
According to the market supervisor, the price controllers extort huge sums of money from them without any purpose. I was summoned in her office. She asked us to pay 30,000 francs each. In total, we paid about 520,000 francs. The business persons, most of whom are internally displaced persons, call on the government to come to their rescue.
We are the IDP from Bamenda. We ran away from work to come and settle here. But since we got here, we have been paying taxes upon taxes, and we are not coping anymore. Let the government help us. Please help us. This is our cry.
Meantime, the traders have been called up for a dialogue by the regional delegate for comments.
A disturbing situation there at the Acacia market, where traders are hoping that their revendications are taken into consideration by the government. Away from that, legalist Abdurrahman Baba calls on Elections Cameroon to respect the country's electoral code. He wants the publication of National Electoral List as stipulated in Section 80 of the Electoral Code. This is supposed to be done latest December 30th. Babila Jonathan tells us more.
Section 80 of the Electoral Code of Cameroon states that at the end of the revision exercise and based on the documents and data provided by the regional regions shall draw up and publish the National Register no later than 30 December. Abdurrahman Baba says Elections Cameroon has failed to do so. Opposition politicians and legal minds denounce what is qualified as a violation of the law by the elections organizing body.
They are not following law, what law is saying. Every year they must make a general list and they will publish it.
The Elections Cameroon, Section 70 of the Electoral Code is cited to dismiss the claims of violation of the electoral law. It says electoral registers shall be drawn up and kept in every council area. The list of potential voters are effectively available in Elecam subdivisional branch offices. We are told that the National Electoral Register is also available at the National Biometric Center in Yaoundé. Another point raised is the impossibility of having the entire electoral register published in a single document due to its cumbersome nature.
So where else can you think they can publish a list with 7 million names? Can you imagine what that means? You have to put it on a piece of paper. The whole country and paste on one notice board somewhere. Can you know do you imagine what that means? It's practically impossible. That's why that law didn't specify what type of publication it is supposed to be.
Meantime, Abdurrahman Amadou Baba has issued an ultimatum asking the Director General of Elections to publish the revised National Electoral List for 2023 without delay, or he will take the matter to court as from January 8, 2024 to press for the respect of the law.
On to something else. The Minister of State in charge of Defense has promised to sanction some 32 military men who publicly paid allegiance to the Sultan of Bamon community, His Majesty Nabil Bombon-Joya in Fumban. Minister Joseph Beti Somo in a recent communique says military honors are highly reserved and should not in any case be misused. Annabella has more.
The video of the over 32 military officers paying allegiance to the Sultan of the Bamon community, Farin Bombon-Joya, has been making rounds on social media. Cameroonians question why military honors should be given to a civilian, honors reserved for the President of the Republic and the Minister of State in charge of Defense, among others. The newly graduated students from the Kutaba Training Center, who all hail from the Nous division of the West region, gathered on the esplanade of the Sultan's palace with words of patriotism, service for nation, and also gratitude.
6e promotion des élèves sous-officiers rassemblés, dignes fils et valeureux du Nous.
In response to these public military honors to the Sultan, the Minister of State in charge of defense frowns at the acts of the gendarmes in Pumban and insists that sanctions must follow suit. In a communique signed by Minister Joseph Betia Somo, he indicates that Articles 63 and 66 of the second reference decree states that military honors are external manifestations exclusively reserved for homage paid legally and only to the head of state, chief of the armed forces, minister in charge of defense, secretary general of state at the Ministry of Defense in charge of the National Gendarmerie, army generals, secretary of state at the Ministry of Defense in charge of ex-servicemen and war victims, and the secretary general at the Ministry of Defense. These honors are highly reserved and must not be misused, was still by those called to uphold military values.
And now we talk economy. To obtain an exit visa from Cameroon, you must be in good standing with the tax authorities since January 1st, 2024, the date of entry into force of the 2024 Finance Law of the State of Cameroon. Everyone wishing to obtain an exit visa from the foreign embassy is required to present what is now called a tax compliance certificate known as ACF. To a tax expert and an economist, this is a good move by the government to generate enough income. Innocent Aze files in details.
All the persons wishing to obtain an exit visa from the country from a foreign embassy must present a certificate of tax compliance, abbreviated in French ACF, which replaces the certificates of non-royalty, abbreviated ANR.
The tax compliance certificate, any natural person, any corporate body liable by a tax have to make a tax declaration and payment to have that document. And that document is needed for many procedures to the life or administrative procedure, like the visa to go out of the country.
The tax compliance certificates, according to the government and tax officials, provides proof that its holders are in full compliance with the tax administration.
The coffers of the government are already sweating right now. So the Cameroonian government is on track, which is the syndrome in most developing countries right now, struggling to meet up the expectations of the economy through taxes and subsidies. It's a very tactical strategy by the government, which has to be applauded because it is not touching directly goods and services, which is a very sensitive part at that level right now in the economy.
Delivered exclusively through computerized means, the certificate of tax compliance makes it possible to increase tax revenue by incorporating into the tax administration file the numerous taxpayers who still escape the nets of the tax authorities.
The informal sector of Cameroon is 45% and pay just 5% of taxes. It means that there's a lot of tax avoidance and a lot of tax evasion in the country. So the government thinking on how it could use its tax system to counteract all these phenomenon and build a budget, because if the government uses its tax system very well, it's going to generate billions of francs CFA, which will go a long way in helping
to quickly heal the bandaged economy by swelling the state coffers. The economist proposes expatriates are also tossed by the tax because they are visa-free at the level of their embassies, deep-rooted in the informal sector of Cameroon's economy.
And now we move to the southwest region of the country, where the mayor and councillors of Bangam Council in the Kupe Manunguba division say they are committed to provide lasting solutions to the many social development challenges faced by the municipality, identifying water, education, poor road network and electricity. The sum of 1.1 billion francs CFA was voted and adopted as the new budget. Fomi Armstrong Sanda has the details.
The rehabilitation of the Bangam Town major water supply is one of the major preoccupations of the Bangam Council and local development stakeholders in the subdivision. With a rapid demographic growth, inhabitants of Bangam are compelled to cover long distances in order to be able to fetch the precious liquid. Apart from water, the state of the local road network stands as another major nightmare to local inhabitants. Farmers say that they go through hell getting their produce from the farms to the market, and the story is the same for some traders who've decided to stay away from the area because of the bad state of the road network. Addressing these issues, the mayor of Bangam says the road network, like water, electricity and education, are top priorities of his council in 2024.
In 2024, we are going to put in place a new project that will maybe take Bangem into the next 50 years or so. In addition to that, apart from the electricity, the water, the roads, we have electricity projects in some villages. And also in town, we need some solar lamps to light up some streets in town in order to increase the security situation in town.
Bangem municipal councillors say that they are happy with what has been achieved and look forward to greater achievement in 2024.
And we have a period that roads are being constructed and maintained, especially during the dry season. So the priority projects that we have is the construction and the maintenance of road. Most of the bridges are dilapidated. They need maintenance, if not to really construct them.
The issues were raised and deliberated upon at the Bangem Municipal Council building during a municipal council budgetary session where a budget of 1.1 billion francs CFA was voted and adopted against 2024.
And we stay in the southwest region where natives from Kiko and neighboring villages in Bangem, Kupe Maniguba division decry poor road network and lack of well-equipped health facilities, causing many of them to cover very long distances just to get themselves treated. Aware of these challenges faced by the population, a health unit has been constructed in Kiko village by the council. Details with Malaglary.
Villages in Bangem are poorly interconnected by roads network. Locals say living from one locality to another is a daunting task. Many have to cover long distances to get health care. Some patients die on their way while others' health situation gets worse. This is because of the bad state of the road and the poor means of transportation.
The means of transport, na bike would use and for transport patient them. And living from Kekok to Bangem is a problem because of the road problem, because transferring them at times, the illness, before one gets to Bangem, it becomes more serious than even before.
The people also complain that poor road network has also crippled economic development.
We have so many other things that disturb us, like the road problem. Farm to market road, this is what is the most targeted aspect in this our locality. Our village is somehow industrious, but at times the food they produce to carry them to various places due to farm to market roads we suffer with our commodity that we bring from the farm.
As a response to one of these challenges, a health facility has been established by the council in Kikov village in Bangem, Kupe Maniguba division. An equipped health unit but limited personnel.
We have a microscope, but now we don't have a laboratory technician that is going to use it, and there is all need for us to have a laboratory technician because the equipments are there, the microscope is there, the centrifuge is there, so there is all need for us to have a laboratory technician. So we are really pleading, we are in need of a laboratory technician.
The people of Kiko village can now breathe a sigh of relief while hoping their roads will be rehabilitated.
About 142 soldiers in Boya in the southwest region have been honored with excellence awards and some promoted to superior ranks. The award comes at a time when several soldiers have lost their lives as a result of the crisis plaguing the two English-speaking regions of our country. Our reporter A.C. Luciliangu reports on the Epaulet Award ceremony in Boya and Kumba in the following report.
At the esplanade of the 21st Motorized Infantry Battalion Command Post in Boya are 142 soldiers receiving awards of excellence, with some promoted to new ranks. The soldiers were saluted for their braveness and courage in ensuring security in the crisis-hit southwest region. Among the 142 soldiers, 5 captains, 1 sub-lieutenant, 3 adjutants, 7 sergeant chefs, 5 sergeants, and 115 caporal were decorated in the presence of the representative of the governor.
It's a stage that you cross. It's really difficult. And on this stage, you need to be very disciplined to wear it. You need to be very hardworking.
Lieutenant Colonel Esenga Wilfred encouraged the soldiers to work harder, maintain a good relationship with the population so as to reinforce security.
They deserve the promotion. Promotion is congratulations from the High Command. So appreciate the work they are doing.
And in Kumba, in the Meme division, the commander of the Seed B and the company commander were distinguished. This was during an epaulet award ceremony which took place in the Seed B camp in Mabanda. Lieutenant Colonel Onana Hughes was promoted to the rank of colonel on the 18th of August, who was appointed as commander of the Seed B in the southwest region, while the company commander of the gendarmerie, Lieutenant Colonel, was also raised to the rank of Colonel. Colonel Tang Fuse on the 31st of March 2022 was appointed in Kumba as company commander of the gendarmerie. Their hard work and determination in maintaining security in the southwest region affected by the crisis led to their distinctions.
And now to sports. The indomitable Lions of Cameroon have entered day 3 of their camping ahead of the 2023 African Nations Cup, billed for Ivory Coast in 10 days. At press time, 18 out of 27 players called up were present in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Multiple reports say one of the players summoned for the competition, Francois Muge, has opted to stay back and gain more playing time with his club Olympique of Marseille. Football analysts say the player's decision goes against FIFA's provision that mandates all players to represent their countries during international competitions. Details with our sportsman, Smart Chikan Gabriel.
On December 28, 2023, when Francois Muge was called up to be part of the national football team heading for the African Nations Cup, the young Olympique of Marseille player was very happy to be part of the squad for the first time at the AFCON. Days later, Francois Muge became the talk on every social media platform as it was rumored he is rejecting to play with the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. The reason put up by most publications is that after Francois Muge was invited to the Lions Den, he was promised by his coach Gennaro Gattuso of more playing time with Olympique of Marseille. The words from Gennaro Gattuso charmed Francois Muge, who allegedly accepted the promise made by his coach. What happens to a player who rejects the country's invitation?
If the player plainly refuses or don't come without his federation approval, explicit or not, the federation can ask FIFA to fine the player and worse, suspend him.
For now, the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, is yet to make any official statement about the information circulating on social media. But can a player reject an invitation from his national team?
Yes, a soccer player can refuse to play for his country despite being called upon by the country's organization. However, FIFA does have rules and regulations regarding player eligibility.
Should Francois Muge finally decide not to come to the AFCON, Rigobert Song has a chance of getting his replacement from those players whose names appeared on the 44 provisional list he sent to CAF. The indomitable Lions continue to intensify the training sessions in Jeddah, with the camp swelling up each day. At the time of this report, 18 players out of the 27 called up are already in camp.
That's it for the first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Tonight on Talking Point, I'll be receiving a social commentator, and he is Sama Abang Amungwa, and we'll be talking about school resumption, and that is across the 10 regions of the country, and also about the OTS-led movement, where the head of state spoke about in the course of his end-of-year message to Cameroonians. Good evening, Mr. Sama Abang Amungwa. It is a pleasure having you on Talking Point tonight. Tell us, how effective was the takeoff of the second term in your school on Tuesday, immediately after New Year's celebration?
Immaculate, thank you for having me on this special day of Wednesday, January the 3rd on your program. Happy New Year to you and everybody on Equinoxe TV. As expected, school resumption yesterday, Tuesday, the 2nd of January was timid, catastrophically timid, for obvious reasons. I recall on New Year's Day, Monday the 1st, I stumbled on a comedy show by, I'm sure, one of Cameroon's most popular comedian, pastor, I think Sango Pastor, whatever, who had made a joke on the fact that he would not send his children to school the following day, which was Tuesday, and that it was unexpected for ministers to sit and decree that one day after celebrating New Year's Day in families and across the country, they expected children as young as 4 years, 5 years old to regain the path to their classroom. It was unexpected, and so many people had foreseen that it was going to be a failure and a catastrophe. I really do not understand on what basis such administrative decisions are taken, but and I remember him in a very comic manner saying that the only incentive that could motivate his child to resume classes on Tuesday, that is yesterday, was the fact that the child would be assured an American visa. That was just a comical way of like explaining why he was sure that his own children, just like every other child, will not go to school. And I imagine how many of those ministers of secondary education and basic education who have children at home or even grandchildren send them out into the streets yesterday, Tuesday, for school resumption. A good number of children are still returning, and I think anything near effective school resumption can only take place as from next week.
Sama Abang, you followed the head of state end of year message to Cameroonians. In your opinion, did he appropriately address teachers' plights?
State teachers in this country are not asking for anything extraordinary. State teachers in this country are not asking government to rob Peter and pay Paul. No. They are not asking government to take from some other people and give them what they are not due. They are simply asking for what they are due. The language that was typical of that speech simply tells us that we are dealing with willing to budge even one bit. A hardcore cabal who has survived and who are surviving and who think that they will continue to survive on the basis of the instrument of intimidation and fear and fright. The lessons of the Anglophone crisis have still not been learned or have not been adequately learned. That when you push people to the peripheries, to the precipice of collapse, they will fight back. This is not the first time teachers have asked for what they are due. But I think, and as I said, we have had over the years, we have had OTS 1, and OTS 2, and I think the gentlemen and ladies of OTS do not want us to have an OTS 3, and that is why I am very sure, as provocative, as stigmatizing, and as arrogant as the speech was, characterized by threats of reprisals, what I think is that it is rather going to embolden OTS teachers. It's unfortunate that teachers of Anglophone Cameroon in the Northwest and the Southwest regions have had a lot to battle with over the past 6 years. And for the fear of being tagged as an amber, trade unionism in the Northwest and the Southwest has gone to slumber. But I think every teacher of the public sector in the Northwest and Southwest, including myself, I take responsibility for what I say. I am and we are sympathizers of the OTS movement and their revendications because we have seen the benefits. And we will not, I think personally, I won't disown them at this stage.
Thank you so much, Sama Abang, for being part of Talking Point tonight. Due to time constraints, we'll not be able to continue with our interview. And that's what put an end to today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe TV. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your keen attention. Have a wonderful evening and stay in the company of Equinoxe with Seshalon Otto.